The signal from nowhere. The transmission came through garbled and weak, barely audible against the cosmic background radiation that filled the void between stars. In the vast control center of Helios 9's main communications hub, Ilara Novak's hands trembled as she boosted the signal strength. This is Helios 9 to any allied vessels. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. Unknown hostile force has breached our outer defense grid. Multiple casualties. Requesting immediate assistance. Please. Anyone. The rest dissolved into static. Ilara slumped back in her chair, sweat beading on her forehead, despite the room's regulated temperature. Through the massive viewport, she could see the first signs of the invasion. Atmospheric entry burns as enemy dropships breached the colony's defensive perimeter. The Kith Eri had arrived without warning, their massive high ships emerging from fold space directly above the colony's main settlement. Helios 9 was humanity's farthest outpost, a thriving mining colony of 30,000 souls, situated on the very edge of known space. They'd been warned the location might be risky, but the planet's rich deposits of quantum-stabilized thorium made it too valuable to ignore. Now that decision was being paid for in blood. Colony Administrator Marcus Reeb burst into the communications center, his usually immaculate uniform torn and stained with dust. Any response? He demanded, his voice hoarse. Ilara shook her head. Nothing yet. I've sent the distress call on all emergency channels, including the Galactic Council's priority band. Reed's expression hardened. They won't come. The Council. The Council, Reed interrupted, will debate the matter for days while we die here. The Centauri Confederation won't risk confrontation with the Kith Eri over a human colony. The Arcturian Empire won't even acknowledge we exist. He slammed his fist against the console. And Earth. Earth is 3 weeks away at maximum FTL. Even if they scrambled every ship they have, they'd arrive to find nothing but ashes. Outside, the sky burned orange as more enemy ships descended. The colony's defensive batteries fired desperately, occasional flashes indicating a successful hit, but they were hopelessly outmatched. The Kith Eri weren't just raiders. They were conquerors, systematic and thorough in their approach to subjugation. Keep broadcasting, Reed ordered, his voice suddenly calm. Someone has to know what happened here. In the marble-floored chamber of the Galactic Council, representatives of 27 spacefaring civilizations sat in tiered seating, their attention focused on the holographic projection hovering above the central dais. The distress signal from Helios 9 played for the third time. High Chancellor Nix Fallon of the Centauri Confederation rose, her luminescent skin pulsing with concern. We have confirmed the signal's authenticity. The human colony of Helios 9 is indeed under attack by Kith Eri forces, a substantial fleet, by all indications. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Kith Eri were not unknown to the Council. A hive-minded species from the galactic rim, they expanded methodically, conquering worlds that possessed resources they required, either exterminating or enslaving the native populations. What are the humans requesting? Asked Ambassador Torlak of the Arcturian Empire, his metallic voice amplified by his environmental suit. Military intervention, Nix Fallon replied. They cannot withstand a Kith Eri invasion force alone. And what does the Council propose? Torlak continued, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Chancellor Nix Fallon's expression remained carefully neutral. The Strategic Committee recommends non-intervention. Helios 9 lies outside our mutual defense perimeter. More importantly, direct military confrontation with the Kith Eri could trigger a war that would engulf multiple sectors. So we abandon them, said a new voice. All eyes turned to Earth's representative, Ambassador Elena Chen, who stood with hands clasped behind her back, her weathered face showing no emotion. 30,000 colonists left to die. The committee sympathizes with Earth's position. Nix Fallon responded smoothly. But you must understand the strategic realities. The Kith Eri fleet outnumbers any force we could dispatch in time. Intervention would mean not only the loss of those ships, but potential retaliation against other worlds. Ambassador Chen's gaze swept the chamber. When humanity joined this council, we were promised security, protection, a united front against threats too great for any one species to face alone. And you received it, Torlak interjected. Within the established defense perimeter, Helios 9 was established beyond those boundaries, despite numerous warnings. A vote, then, demanded Chen. As is my right as Earth's representative. The vote took less than 5 minutes. 25 civilizations voted against intervention. 1 abstained. Only Earth voted in favor. As the session adjourned, Ambassador Chen walked briskly from the chamber, her aides struggling to keep pace. "Transmit to Earth Defense Command," she said quietly. "Priority Alpha. Galactic Council has declined intervention in Helios 9 situation. Proceed with contingency Prometheus." The aide paled. "Madam Ambassador, Prometheus hasn't been authorized by. Earth will not abandon its people." Chen cut him off. "Not now. Not ever." Captain Maya Chen stood on the bridge of the EDF Defiant, staring at the holographic star map with an intensity that made junior officers nervous. At 38, she was young for her command, one of Earth Defense Force's newest and most advanced battleships. The Defiant was officially listed as an exploratory vessel in communications with the Galactic Council, but that particular fiction fooled no one. Maya's attention remained fixed on a pulsing red dot at the edge of the map. Helios 9. She'd studied the colony's specifications during the emergency briefing. 30,000 colonists, minimal defensive capabilities, and now facing the full might of a Kith-Ari invasion force. Captain, her XO, Commander Jackson Wei, approached with a datapad. "Final deployment orders from Fleet Command." Maya took the pad, scanning its contents quickly. Her eyes widened slightly. "This is unexpected." "Yes, ma'am," Wei agreed. "High Command is committing almost everything." The orders detailed a massive operation. Nearly 80% of Earth's combat-capable vessels were being mobilized. Not just the Defiant, but 5 other capital ships and their support fleets. It was the largest military action humanity had undertaken since joining the galactic community 50 years ago. "They're really going through with it," Maya murmured. "Despite the Council's vote. Permission to speak freely, Captain." Maya nodded. "The Council left us no choice," Wei said, lowering his voice. "If we allow the Kith-Ari to take Helios 9 without response, we're signaling to every hostile species in the galaxy that human colonies are easy targets." Maya returned the datapad. "Agreed. But there's something else here." She gestured to a classified section of the orders. "We're authorized to deploy NOVA weapons if necessary." Wei's expression darkened. The NOVA platform, neutralizing orbital vectored artillery, was humanity's most closely guarded military secret. Officially, Earth possessed no planet-killing weapons, a condition of their membership in the Galactic Council. Unofficially, well, humans had always been pragmatic about defense. "Command must believe this is an existential threat," Wei observed. "Or they're sending a message," Maya replied. "Not just to the Kith-Ari, but to the Council as well." She straightened her uniform and turned to the bridge crew. "Helm, plot jump coordinates for Helios 9. Engineering, I want the drive at 120% capacity. We'll worry about the warranty later. Tactical, begin loading all weapon systems and prepare for immediate combat upon arrival." The bridge erupted into disciplined activity. Maya turned back to the star map, studying the vast distance between Earth and Helios 9. Even with the Defiant's advanced FTL drive pushing dangerous limits, they'd be cutting it extremely close. "Commander Wei," she said quietly, "what do you know about the Kith-Ari?" Wei considered the question. "Hive mind species. Technological level slightly above Galactic Council average. Highly efficient in resource extraction and utilization. They don't conquer for territory or ideology, only for specific resources they need. And what resources does Helios 9 have that would attract them? The quantum-stabilized thorium deposits, Wei answered immediately. Rare throughout the galaxy. Essential for certain types of advanced reactor systems. Maya nodded slowly. So this isn't random. They want the thorium, and they'll eliminate the colony to get it. She paused, then added, the Council knows this. They know the Kith Eri will strip the planet and move on. They've calculated that sacrificing 30,000 humans is an acceptable price for avoiding wider conflict. Cold calculus, Wei agreed, but potentially sound strategy from their perspective. Maya's eyes hardened. Then they don't understand humans very well, do they, Commander? Wei allowed himself a small smile. No, Ma'am. They never have. The ship's AI announced final preparations for FTL jump. Maya returned to her command chair, strapping herself in as the massive engines began to hum with increasing intensity. All hands, secure for emergency combat jump, she ordered, her voice steady despite the churning in her stomach. The Defiant had never been pushed to these speeds before. No human vessel had. What they were attempting might tear the ship apart before they even reached Helios 9. But 30,000 lives hung in the balance. Her people, abandoned by those who had promised protection. Jump in 3, 2, 1. The stars blurred, and the Defiant, along with Earth's greatest war fleet, vanished into the depths of space, racing against time to reach those who had been left to die. On Helios 9, the situation deteriorated hourly. The colony's main settlement had fallen within the first day. Kith Eri ground forces, biomechanical constructs controlled by the hive mind, methodically secured each sector, establishing processing centers where captured colonists were sorted. Some were executed immediately. Others were taken to the massive ships hovering overhead. The mining operations had become the final stronghold of resistance. Built into the side of a mountain range, the reinforced structures offered some protection against orbital bombardment. Colony Administrator Reed had established a command post in the main processing facility, coordinating what remained of the colony's defense forces. Status report, he demanded, looking up from a makeshift tactical display. Lieutenant Commander Sofia Martinez, the ranking military officer since the death of the colony's security chief, looked grim. We've lost contact with outposts 3 and 4. Perimeter sensors show Kith Eri forces converging on our position from 3 directions. And the civilians, secured in the lower levels. About 8,000, sir. The rest. She didn't need to finish the sentence. Reed nodded slowly. What about our distress call? Any response? Martinez hesitated. We received an automated acknowledgement from the Galactic Council approximately 10 hours ago. Standard protocol. No indication of any relief force being dispatched. As expected, Reed muttered. He studied the tactical display again. How long can we hold? With current ammunition and supplies? Maybe 3 days. 5 if we're lucky and the Kith Eri decide to take their time. Reed was silent for a long moment. Keep broadcasting the distress signal. And prepare evacuation plans for the civilians. There's a network of natural caves extending beyond the northern ridge. If we're breached, that's our fallback position. Sir, Martinez said carefully, those caves aren't supplied or equipped for long-term survival, and they won't protect against determined searchers. I know, Reed replied, his voice heavy, but they might buy some time. And right now, Lieutenant, time is the only thing we can hope for. Outside, the alien ships continued their ominous patrol of Helios 9's skies, their massive hulls blocking out the sun and casting long shadows over the once thriving colony. The Kith Eri worked with mechanical precision, their every action coordinated by the singular consciousness that drove their species. They had encountered resistance before. They had crushed it before. They had no reason to believe this time would be any different. But across the vast emptiness of space, something was coming. Something the Kith Eri had never faced before. A force driven not by cold calculation or hive mind efficiency, but by something far more dangerous. humanity's absolute refusal to abandon its own. When humanity answers, the Kith-Ari detected the approaching vessels 12 minutes before their emergence from FTL. Their sensors registered anomalies in subspace, ripples of distortion that indicated imminent arrivals. Nothing unusual in itself. Likely Council observers come to document the fall of Helios 9 for their archives. The Kith-Ari Overseer, the physical manifestation of the hive mind aboard the command ship, directed a fraction of its attention to the matter. Standard protocol would be followed. Warn the newcomers to maintain distance or be fired upon. The conquest of Helios 9 was proceeding efficiently. The thorium extraction would begin once the remaining human resistance had been eliminated. A subordinate approached the Overseer's command platform. Emergence imminent, it reported, its voice a mechanical approximation of speech. Multiple signatures, larger than anticipated. The Overseer shifted slightly, redirecting more of its consciousness to the tactical displays. Indeed, the subspace distortions were growing stronger than expected. Perhaps the Council had sent more than observers. Perhaps. The first human battleship tore through the fabric of space directly above Helios 9, emerging so close to the Kith-Ari blockade that proximity alarms screamed across the entire fleet. Not on the outskirts of the system, as dictated by both caution and convention, but directly in the heart of the invasion force. The Overseer's compound eyes widened as more ruptures appeared. 2, 5, 11. A continuous stream of human warships materializing in perfect formation, their weapons already hot, their shields at full power. Impossible. The Overseer hissed, genuine emotion breaking through its usually mechanistic demeanor. Calculate transit time from Earth to Helios 9. Verify. Standard FTL parameters indicate minimum 21 days transit, the subordinate replied. Yet here they were. Which meant, the humans have broken the Council's restrictions on FTL technology. The Overseer realized. They have developed capabilities beyond what they disclosed. Before the Kith-Ari could fully process this revelation, the human fleet opened fire. Captain Maya Chen had expected to arrive too late. She had prepared herself for the grim possibility of finding only ruins and ashes, of having to explain to Earth Command why the most ambitious military operation in human history had failed to save a single life. Instead, they emerged to find Helios 9 still fighting. Status report, she ordered, her voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through her system. The Defiant's emergency FTL jump had worked flawlessly, depositing them, and the entire Earth fleet precisely where they needed to be, directly among the Kith-Ari invasion force. Colony signal still active, Tactical reported. Detecting human life signs concentrated in the mining complex and scattered throughout the settlement. Kith-Ari fleet appears to be in blocking formation. 17 capital ships, approximately 40 support vessels. Maya allowed herself 1 second of relief before focusing on the battle ahead. Deploy according to Operation Thunderstrike. Hammer Groups 1 and 2. Engage enemy capital ships. Sword squadrons. Target their troop transports. Defiant will take point on breaking their central formation. The bridge erupted into disciplined activity as her orders were relayed throughout the fleet. On the main view screen, Maya watched as Earth's warships moved with precision that would have impressed even the most cynical Council observer. The Kith-Ari are responding. Commander Wei reported. Their fleet is repositioning to engage. Maya nodded. As expected, they're adjusting to standard Council military doctrine. They think we'll follow the same playbook. A thin smile crossed her lips. Let's show them how humans fight. She opened a fleet-wide channel. All vessels, execute maneuver Epsilon. Deploy chaff protocol and prepare for micro-jumps on my mark. Throughout the human fleet, officers acknowledged the command. The Kith-Ari, expecting a conventional engagement with established distances maintained between opposing forces, were unprepared for what came next. Mark. Half the human fleet vanish, only to reappear seconds later behind the Kith-Ari formation. Simultaneously, hundreds of small objects were launched from the remaining ships, electronic countermeasures that began broadcasting false signatures, creating the illusion of a fleet 3 times larger than reality. The Kith-Eri response was immediate but confused. Their ships turned to engage the new threat behind them, only to find their targeting systems overwhelmed by the chaff. In those critical moments of indecision, both halves of the human fleet struck with devastating precision. On the Defiance bridge, Maya watched the initial exchange with cold satisfaction. Press the advantage. All hammer groups. Concentrate fire on designated targets. Don't give them time to adapt. The battle unfolded with brutal efficiency. Human ships darted between the larger Kith-Eri vessels, their more advanced point defense systems, negating much of the aliens' numerical advantage. What they lacked in raw firepower, they made up for in speed and tactical flexibility. "Captain," Wei called out, "Kith-Eri reinforcements approaching from the far side of the planet." Maya examined the tactical display. "How many?" 15 vessels. Mixed classes. She considered for a moment. Sword Squadrons 3 and 4, break off and intercept. Hammer Group 2, prepare to support if needed. She turned to her communications officer. "Contact the colony. Tell them help has arrived and ground forces are inbound." In the command center beneath Helios 9's mining complex, Lieutenant Commander Martinez stared at the communications console in disbelief. "Sir," she called to Administrator Reed, her voice unsteady, "you need to hear this." Reed hurried over as Martinez activated the external speakers. A clear, professional voice filled the room. "Helios 9, this is Captain Maya Chen of the Earth Defense Force vessel Defiant. We are engaging the Kith-Eri fleet in orbit. Ground forces are preparing to deploy to your location. Hold position and stand by for evacuation instructions." Silence fell over the command center. After days of desperate fighting, of watching their colony burn, of believing they had been abandoned, the words seemed almost impossible to process. "They came," someone whispered. Reed cleared his throat, fighting to maintain his composure. "Establish direct communication," he ordered, "and get me a status report on the battle upstairs." Martinez worked quickly, her hands flying over the console. A holographic display flickered to life, showing orbital telemetry of the space above Helios 9. What they saw left them speechless. The Kith-Eri blockade, which had seemed an impenetrable wall of alien might days earlier, was in disarray. Human warships moved with impossible agility between the larger enemy vessels, their weapons creating blossoms of fire against the backdrop of space. Already, several Kith-Eri ships listed dead in orbit, their systems disabled or destroyed. "My God," Reed breathed. "How many ships did they send?" "All of them," Martinez replied after studying the data. "Sir, this looks like most of Earth's fleet." Reed's eyes widened. Earth had sent not a token force, not a rescue mission, but its full military might. They had risked everything to reach Helios 9 in time. Communications established. An operator called out, direct linked to the Defiant. Reed straightened his filthy uniform as best he could and stepped before the communication array. "This is Administrator Marcus Reed of Helios 9. Captain Chen, your arrival is unexpected." The view screen flickered, revealing a woman in an Earth Defense Force uniform, her features composed despite the obvious battle raging around her ship. "Administrator, good to find you still alive. What's your situation?" "Approximately 8,000 survivors in the mining complex," Reed reported. "Unknown number hiding throughout the settlement. The Kith-Eri control most of the colony, with heavy ground forces concentrated around the main thorium extraction facilities." Chen nodded. "We've detected their positions. Landing craft are preparing to deploy. Can your people hold out another 30 minutes?" Reed glanced at Martinez, who nodded firmly. "We'll hold, Captain." But the Kith-Eri have been systematically executing captured colonists. Those still in the settlement are in immediate danger. "Understood. We'll prioritize those areas first." Chen's expression hardened. "Administrator, I want to be clear. We're not just here for evacuation. "We're here to take back your colony." Reed blinked in surprise. "The Kith-Ari ground forces are substantial." "So are ours," Chen interrupted. "Earth doesn't abandon its people, Administrator. Not to the Kith-Ari. Not to anyone." The Kith-Ari overseer struggled to comprehend what was happening. The battle was not proceeding according to any known strategic parameters. The humans fought with a reckless disregard for established military doctrine, employing technologies the Kith-Ari had not known they possessed. Most concerning were the human vessels' point defense capabilities. The Kith-Ari had expected their superior numbers to overwhelm the smaller human ships, but their weapons found it nearly impossible to penetrate the layered defensive systems. Meanwhile, human munitions seemed specifically calibrated to target weaknesses in Kith-Ari shield harmonics. They prepared for this, the overseer realized. They studied our technologies, our tactics. They knew we would come. A subordinate approached, its movements jerky with agitation. "Ground forces report human troops landing in multiple locations. They are employing advanced armor systems and weapons optimized against our biomechanoids." The overseer absorbed this information with growing concern. The hive mind had encountered resistance before, had crushed species far more advanced than humans were believed to be. But this was different. "Establish direct communication with the human command vessel," the overseer ordered. When Captain Chen's face appeared on the Kith-Ari view screen, there was no fear in her expression, no awe at communicating with the collective consciousness of the hive, only cold determination. "This is Captain Maya Chen of the Earth Defense Force. State your intentions." The overseer studied her for a moment. "You have violated Galactic Council non-intervention protocols. Your presence here is illegal." Chen's expression didn't change. "Your invasion of a human colony is an act of war against Earth. Withdraw your forces immediately, or we will remove them." "You cannot hope to prevail," the overseer stated. "The Kith-Ari Dominion extends across 12 systems. This fleet is but a fraction of our strength. And this fleet," Chen replied evenly, "is but a fraction of humanity's resolve. You attacked our people. You left us no choice but to respond." The overseer considered its options. Already, 3 capital ships had been disabled. The ground invasion was meeting unexpected resistance as human dropships deployed troops equipped with weaponry specifically designed to counter Kith-Ari biomechanoids. The Galactic Council ruled against intervention. The overseer noted, "You stand alone." Chen smiled then, a cold expression that did not reach her eyes. "We've stood alone before. It hasn't stopped us yet." The battle for Helios 9 reached its zenith 6 hours after the human fleet's arrival. In orbit, the remaining Kith-Ari vessels fought with increasing desperation as the humans pressed their advantage. On the ground, Earth's Marines pushed through the settlement, evacuating survivors and engaging alien forces with devastating effect. On the Defiance Bridge, Maya watched the tactical displays with grim satisfaction. The operation was proceeding better than even the most optimistic projections had suggested. The Kith-Ari, for all their technological might, had been unprepared for humanity's approach to warfare. "Status report," she ordered. "Enemy fleet at approximately 40% combat effectiveness," Wei reported. "Our casualties remain within acceptable parameters. Ground forces report 70% of the settlement secured, with evacuation proceeding as planned." Maya nodded. "And the mining complex?" "Perimeter secured. Our forces have linked up with the colonial defenders." Everything was proceeding according to plan. Perhaps too well. Maya had learned through bitter experience that when a battle seemed to be going perfectly, that was precisely when you should expect the unexpected. "Captain," Tactical called out suddenly, detecting massive energy buildup in the Kith-Ari command ship. Pattern consistent with their fold space drive, but the signature is much larger than standard parameters. Maya's eyes narrowed. "They're retreating." "No, ma'am," Tactical replied, his voice tight. "Energy pattern suggests they're attempting to create a localized fold space rupture. If successful, It could tear apart a significant portion of the orbital space around Helios 9. Maya understood immediately. The Kithari, facing defeat, had chosen annihilation, theirs and everyone else's in the vicinity. It was a desperate move, but effective. The resulting space-time distortion would destroy not only the human fleet, but likely render Helios 9 uninhabitable. How long? She demanded. 4 minutes to critical threshold. Maya's mind raced through options. Conventional weapons wouldn't penetrate the command shields in time. Evacuation was impossible. Even at emergency FTL, they couldn't get far enough away before detonation, which left only one option. Prepare a NOVA platform for deployment, she ordered. Target the Kith-Eri command ship. Wei looked at her sharply. Captain, use of a NOVA weapon will be detected by Council monitoring stations. There will be consequences. There won't be anyone left to face those consequences if that rupture forms, Maya replied. Deploy the NOVA. Now. The weapons officer worked quickly, his fingers flying over the console. NOVA platform ready. Target locked. Maya took a deep breath. The NOVA was humanity's most closely guarded secret, a weapon that bent the fabric of space-time itself, creating a miniature singularity that would exist for mere microseconds before collapsing, long enough to tear apart anything in its immediate vicinity. Fire. The platform launched, a small projectile accelerated to near-relativistic speeds. It struck the Kith-Eri command shift shields and passed through them, as if they didn't exist. The physics behind the NOVA rendered conventional defenses meaningless. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, space itself appeared to fold inward around the massive alien vessel. There was no explosion, no burst of light or energy. The ship simply ceased to exist, along with a sphere of space approximately 1 kilometer in diameter. The bridge fell silent. The remaining Kith-Eri vessels, suddenly cut off from the hive mind that had coordinated their actions, drifted aimlessly. The fold space rupture? Maya asked quietly. Neutralized, tactical confirmed. The NOVA worked exactly as designed. Maya nodded slowly. Signal all forces. The Kith-Eri command structure has been neutralized. Proceed with mop-up operations and continue evacuation of colonists. She turned to Commander Wei. Prepare a full report for Earth Command. Include complete telemetry on the NOVA deployment. The Council will have questions. We need to be ready with answers. Wei studied her for a moment. They'll claim we violated technological restrictions, that the NOVA represents an unacceptable escalation. Yes, Maya agreed. They will. She gazed at the view screen, where the remains of the Kith-Eri fleet drifted against the backdrop of Helios 9, and will remind them that they left 30,000 humans to die, that when the Council voted for non-intervention, they forced our hand. She stood, straightening her uniform. Earth protects its own, Commander. The Council needs to understand that. Everyone needs to understand that. 3 days later, the colony of Helios 9 was secure. Of the 30,000 original colonists, nearly 22,000 had survived. A miracle given the Kith-Eri's methodical approach to conquest. The alien forces had been completely neutralized, their remaining ships captured for study. In the main square of the colonial settlement, now serving as a coordination center for reconstruction efforts, Administrator Reed walked alongside Captain Chen, surveying the damage and the beginnings of repair. Earth Command says the first relief ships will arrive within 2 weeks, Maya informed him. In the meantime, we've left sufficient forces to ensure your security. Reed nodded, still processing the enormity of what had happened. The Council. Any reaction? Oh, they're reacting, Maya replied with a grim smile. Emergency sessions, diplomatic protests, the usual bureaucratic panic when someone doesn't follow their rules. Ambassador Chen is handling it. Will there be consequences? For Earth, I mean. Maya considered the question. Undoubtedly. Sanctions, probably. Restrictions on our participation in Council affairs. Possibly worse. She shrugged. But the message has been sent, and not just to the Council. Every species in the galaxy now knows that attacking the human settlement, no matter how far from Earth, no matter how seemingly insignificant, will bring consequences. They stopped before a makeshift memorial where colonists had placed images of those lost in the attack. Maya studied the faces: men, women, children, people who had traveled to the edge of known space to build something new. Was it worth it? Reed asked quietly. The risk? The certain diplomatic fallout. Earth committed nearly its entire defense fleet to save us. Maya turned to him, her expression softening for the first time since her arrival. Administrator, there was never any question. Not among Earth's leadership, not among our military, not among our people. When we heard your call, we knew we would come, whatever it took. She gazed up at the sky, where Earth vessels still patrolled, ensuring the colony's safety. The Council sees expansion as a strategic exercise, cold calculations of resources versus risk. They don't understand why humans push so far into the unknown, why we establish colonies in dangerous regions. They certainly don't understand why we would risk everything to protect those colonies. And why do we? Reed asked. Maya smiled. Because that's who we are. We explore, we build, and we protect our own. Always have, always will. As they continued their walk through the recovering settlement, word of their presence spread. Colonists emerged from temporary shelters and half-repaired buildings. They lined the streets, watching silently as Maya passed. Then, somewhere in the crowd, someone began to clap. Others joined in, the sound swelling until it echoed off the buildings. These were frontier people, hardy, independent, not given to displays of emotion. But they understood what had happened. When abandoned by the Galactic Council, when left to die on the edge of known space, humanity had answered their call. Not because it was strategic, not because it was logical, but because it was right. And in that moment, standing amid the ruins of a colony that would rebuild, that would thrive again, Captain Maya Chen understood something fundamental about her species. The Kith Eri possessed technological might. The Council possessed political power. But humanity possessed something far more dangerous, an absolute refusal to leave its people behind. It was a lesson the galaxy would not soon forget. In the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, the emergency session had stretched into its second day. Ambassador Elena Chen stood before the assembled representatives, weathering their outrage with diplomatic poise. Earth has violated multiple provisions of the Non-Intervention Accord, declared Chancellor Nick Spallin, her luminescent skin pulsing with agitation. You deployed prohibited weapons technology. You engaged in military action explicitly voted against by this council. The penalties for such actions are severe, Ambassador. Elena Chen stood unmoved, her weathered face betraying no emotion. My government acknowledges the council's position. However, I am instructed to remind this assembly that Earth is a sovereign power. When 30,000 of our citizens faced extermination, and this council voted to abandon them, you left us no choice. There are always choices, countered Ambassador Torlak. Your species simply chose the most reckless path available. We chose to protect our people, Chen replied evenly, just as any of your civilizations would have done, had the council abandoned you. A murmur swept through the chamber. Chen pressed her advantage. Furthermore, Earth has obtained valuable intelligence regarding the Kith Eri threat. Their attack on Helios 9 was not an isolated incident, but part of a larger expansion strategy. Had they succeeded, other worlds would have followed, perhaps even those within your precious defense perimeter. This does not excuse Earth's actions, Nick Spallin insisted, though with less conviction. Chen's expression hardened. No. What excuses our actions were the 30,000 lives at stake. What justifies our actions is that 22,000 of those lives were saved. She swept her gaze across the assembly. Earth did not join this council to abandon its principles or its people. If protecting human lives means facing sanctions, then we will bear that burden. She straightened, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. But know this, humanity protects its own. Today, tomorrow, and always, any species that threatens our colonies, our outposts, or our people will face the full might of Earth, regardless of what this council decides. The chamber fell silent. In that moment, something shifted in the galactic order. Humanity had been viewed as a minor power, a newcomer still finding its place. But now, they had demonstrated not only technological prowess beyond what was believed possible, but an unwavering resolve that many older species had long abandoned. As Ambassador Chen left the chamber, she knew the repercussions would be severe. Earth would face sanctions, restrictions, diplomatic isolation, but they had sent a message that would echo across the stars. When the galaxy turns its back, when all hope seems lost, when they believe no one will come, Earth will be there, answering the call with the full fury of humanity's might. Not because it is easy, not because it is safe, but because it is who they are. And that, more than any weapon or technology, was what made humanity a force to be reckoned with in the cosmos.